course, is cold calling, everybody's favorite. Patrick will attest to that when he works with people in sales. Everybody says, can we do cold calling first? It's my absolute favorite thing. Isn't that right, Patrick?
Yeah, everybody loves cold calling.
So today that's what Patrick's going to talk to us about. So we don't have that fear, that fear that can paralyze us from not doing it, right? So if you wouldn't mind go to the next slide, Patrick, so we can
Sure.
say our oath. So if everyone could repeat after me. I, Tiffany Joy Green, do solemnly swear to accept the lifelong obligation to hone my superhero powers and apply those superhero powers to the good of the people I serve. I will promote and add to the ongoing success of Empower People, its members, and the people, organizations, and communities it serves. I will help prepare the next generation of superheroes. I am driven to be a positive change agent for those I serve and interact with. Now, if everyone could put their hands on their hips, look up to the sky, take superhero pose, and totally feel empowered, you will feel great for the rest of the day. And now, without further ado, we got Patrick Carroll, who is going to take our fear away from cold calling.
Yes. So here are some of the things that we're going to touch on today. The sources of call reluctance. We're going to look at prospecting mindset, a format for making an outbound prospecting call or cold call, outreach call. There's a lot of different things you could call it, even a warm call, depending on what you're doing, but how to execute it. And of course, some ideas to have better conversations and set more appointments. Because I think at the end of the day, when in sales today, when we live in a digital world, I think conversations matter more than ever, right? When we live in this kind of, AI driven world and everybody's inundated with all this information on their phones and electronic devices, I think a voice-to-voice conversation, when done right, is refreshing in this day and age, right? So I think that's what we want to share today, is give you some tools just to have better conversations when you're trying to reach out to your target market, to the people or your buyer persona or your ideal client profile, all that language. So, but Sandler, just to give you a quick background, we're a large training organization, been around for 50 years. And the reason why we're kind of, I would say, timeless is because we're based off human psychology, right? And human beings really why we buy doesn't change. Of course, how we buy has changed, right? So Sandler kind of we update our content every 3 years to adjust to what the market demands are, what the modern buyer's doing, all the different complexities out there. So I typically work with business leaders, sales folks, customer-facing employees is typically who we engage with at Sandler, in the leaders of those teams. That's typically the work that I do. It's either with a sales team, a service team, or a leadership team of some kind. It's typically around performance improvement, right? Performance improvement is what we focus on. I'm from the area. I focus my studies around rhetoric and communication. I did not do that to get into Sandler. That just happened by accident, but it kind of fits very well with our business and Sandler's philosophies. Live in the area, out south side, and been doing this for over 15 years now. I'm getting old, but it's been a lot of fun. If you asked me when I was like 22 years old if I'd be in this business selling and delivering sales training, I would say you're crazy, but boy, was I wrong. If anything piques your interest from today or you have further questions, that's my email. Feel free to reach out to me with anything. So call reluctance, like we were joking at the beginning, cold calling, right? Everybody's favorite thing to do. It's actually, when polled with some of the research, right? It's one of the hardest parts of most people's jobs is starting a conversation with people. I work with some sales. I've got a team that I'm working on right now, prospect. Their salespeople don't do any prospect. They don't pick up the phone. They get leads all day. they get leads to work. I was like, man, that must be nice. But most of us in sales, prospecting is how we start the sales process for many of us. And it can look many different ways. We're going to focus on the phone today, but prospecting should be an omni-channel approach. It should be a multi-pronged approach, not just I call or I just network or I just go for referrals or I just do online marketing. It's all of it wrapped into one for effectiveness. So we know it takes many touches today, a lot of touches, and most of the people we talk to probably don't even have a need for our product and service right now, and that's okay. So we know there's some daunting kind of figures out there, but we know, again, I think today's day and age, the phone is people pick this thing up and good things happen because conversations tend to happen, and that's when things start flowing. So here are some of the reasons why people have a fear of making outbound calling strangers. I mean, you got to think about it. It even comes back from our subconscious, like childhood messaging from don't talk to strangers, don't interrupt people, speak when spoken to. There's some of that going on. Whether we're aware of it or not, there's, depending on what our messaging or what our scripting is within us, our belief system, that can impact us. Right. So I think people will do a lot of research. Hey, I'm just researching, and they never pick up the phone. Or, right, they take rejection. When you saw the numbers, most of the people you talk to might not have a need for you, so you have to be okay with getting a no. That's very important, right? So I think part of it, allergic to the phone is lava, right? It's 800-pound phone. But it's easy to hide behind email and text and LinkedIn and all those things, right? When probably the best thing to do is just call the person. Right? Make sure we're working that in there. But we want to make sure we have a positive, or I would say a growth mindset, one of opportunity. If we have one of limitation, we're going to struggle, right? So attitude is going to impact the way we carry ourselves on that phone call, because although what we say is important and how we structure it, how we say it's just as important, because we need to have equal business stature, right? I bring value to the marketplace, and I'm doing people a disservice by not talking to them, right? As opposed to, man, nobody's going to pick up the phone anyways. Like, why would I even try? Right? That's on that kind of limitation, self-limiting belief type of thing going on, right? So we want to make sure our mindset's in the right place, and that we're okay with failure. We're okay with a no. We know it comes with the territory, but every no I get, I'm closer to a yes, right? And I've even seen within my network of Sandler trainers across the globe, essentially, right? It's one of those things where it's like the self-fulfilling prophecy in many ways when you think about this. But what I'm about to share with you is some techniques and behaviors for prospecting or picking up the phone. But again, attitude, what we just talked about, is just as important as the technique, right? In the attitude of, do I have the mindset to do the behavior of making a phone call when I don't feel like it, when I don't want to? I think that's the difference, right, between a sales professional. I know I don't want to do this, but I know I need to, right? It's my job, and I don't care how I feel. I need to act my way into it, right? So I think part of that is just that attitude and behavior connection is critical just to pick up the phone. But I think a lot of people, when we think about cold calling, it's either a technical issue. I don't know what to say, how to say it, when to say it, what's the best way to do this? That's the technique. But the conceptual issue is no one picks up the phone. right? I just get objections. I don't like all these sayings. That's the attitudinal issue. But when usually it's a combo of both. If you can give somebody the tools just to go, hey, suspend the disbelief that nobody's going to pick up the phone or that you're not good at it, just do it, right? To change your belief about it that you can, right? So we'll move through here on the belief piece. But I just think if you've got a negative belief, or if you have a self-limiting belief around prospecting, write that down and then write what the positive or the appropriate behavior should be or appropriate belief should be. How do you flip it on its head and turn that into a positive? And then how do you turn that into a behavior? How can you measure it? So a belief that holds you back, what's the new belief that you need? Supportive belief. What's a behavior? And then how are you going to track it? So we talked a little bit about equal business stature. I think when I think about this in cold calling, a lot of it's tonality. It's like late night DJ voice, right? It's like it's almost authoritative in a way. It's not submissive. Hey, Christina, I was just wondering if you had a minute, if I could tell you, what I do. Like, we don't want to, hey, I really appreciate you taking a minute to share with me. We don't want to be too submissive, right? We want to be equal business stature. We don't want to be above anybody, but we want to be seen as equals. So let's get into technique, okay? Let's get into technique. And here's the structure of the no pressure prospecting call. We start on the left side, pattern interrupt. We interrupt the pattern, right? Because when you get a phone call, you can pretty much tell it's a salesperson pretty quickly because it's the way they open the call typically. So you can smell it, you can hear it, you can sense it. So we want to interrupt the pattern of, how are you today? Right? Click. So we want to make sure we're interrupting the pattern on our opener. And if you can do that in the first 10 to 15 seconds, the rest of the call is a lot smoother because they'll actually listen to you. So then we look at a 30-second commercial and then what we call mini pain funnel. So 30-second commercials throwing out some pain points or problems that you solve for people. They say, yes, we're seeing some of that. No, we're not. But if they go, yeah, we're having some issues with employee morale right now. Really? Tell me more about that. How long has that been going on? Let me make a suggestion, call to action. Why don't we pull out our calendars and find 15, 20 minutes to talk about this a little bit further? We can dig into more what you talked about, XYZ, and then you can ask me how we've helped other people, deal with that. Whatever it is, but it's a call to action. So let's break this down from beginning to end. The pattern interrupt. This is why we do it, right? Because it changes their reaction. It breaks the prospects out of their go-to responses of not a good time or I'm busy or something of that nature, right? It changes their assumptions and opinions in an instant. You can feel the change on the call. So here are some examples of that. I still use bad time. Tiffany answers the phone. I go, hi, Tiffany. I probably caught you at the bad time. And they go, well, I mean, not really. What's the call about? Let me take less than a minute. I'll share with you why I've called. Then you can decide if you want to hang up. Is that fair? Bad tonality, 99% of the time they'll go, fair. What do you got? Right? But bad time. That's a good one. Hey, Christina, I'm looking for a little help. I'm not even sure if it makes sense for us to talk. Can I share with you why I'm calling, and you can decide if maybe it makes sense to continue? Right? Hey, Tiffany. It's Patrick. I get the feeling my name's not ringing a bell. Right? You wait, you pause and wait. Not my favorite, but it's there, right? One of my favorites, it's a cold call. I do a little different variation of it. I would go more, Christina, I got good news and bad news. Bad news is it's a cold call. Good news is you can hang up. You go that direction. You typically get a good chuckle. Hey, seriously, let me take less than a minute. I'll kind of tell you why I'm calling, and then you can decide if we continue. Is that fair? That might be the direction I take. Or hey, Tiffany, look, I got to be frank. This is a cold call. I like making them probably as much as you like getting them, but we're here now. How about we take 30 seconds, get introduced, and then determine if it makes sense to continue? Is that okay? In 15 seconds or less, I've completely disarmed that person, most likely. I mean, doesn't that sound different? And doesn't it sound it just sounds reasonable. It's disarmingly honest. I think if you're disarmingly honest at the beginning of the call, you can start to get to the truth with somebody. It's about building rapid rapport or trust quickly, right? And these are good examples of the pattern interrupt. The next step, you heard me say it a couple times, is a mini upfront contract. I'm telling them why I'm calling. I'm giving them a time frame, and then I'm giving them an out or an outcome. So I'm telling them what's going to happen so they don't resist it. Because when you call a prospect and it's a cold call, their first question is, oh gosh, how long is this going to take? Oh, they're going to try to sell me, right? All these defense mechanisms are up. We're trying to take them down in the first 10 to 20 seconds and say, so if I combined it a little bit, here's the mini upfront contract. Tim, let me tell you the reason why I'm calling. Then you and I can decide if it makes sense for us to sit down together at some point. Fair enough. That might be one. I would go more for the conversation and say, hey, let me tell you the reason why I'm calling. Then you and I can decide if it makes sense to talk for a few more minutes. Does that make sense? Is that okay? Right. Let me take 2 minutes to share the purpose of my call, and then you can be the judge of whether we talk further. That's giving them control, fair? But we're kind of in control, right? But if that makes sense, like we're basically dictating the whole conversation, but they feel like they have a out every which way. They're part of it. And that's what most cold calling is poor, is because it's 30 seconds and out. Hey, Tiffany, this is Patrick with Sandler. I was calling to see if you had any sales problems that blah, 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 blah. Right? That's not going to fly. Right? But if we pause, we interrupt the pattern, we give them control, they'll listen for a minute. They might not want to talk further, but they'll listen. You'll have a better conversation with them. Because what I call a unique conversation is someone you get your 30-second commercial out to, they go, yeah, I've got a couple minutes. What do you have? Right? Then you do your 30-second commercial and they say, yeah, we don't have a need for that right now. That's a unique conversation. You shared the business problems that you solved for them, and they either said yes or no, I have them. To me, that's a unique conversation. And a lot of people I talk to that make cold calls can't even get to that. They can't even get through their 30-second commercial. They'll get interrupted and say, look, I don't have time for this. Click. But when you say, hey, less than a minute, I'll share with you why I'm calling, put some context around it, and then you can decide if you want to hang up. Is that okay? They'll be like, sure, man, what do you got? And you'll get through it. Or you'll get no's, but it'll be like respectful, polite no's. They'll be like, you know what? I appreciate the call, but I really don't have a need for that. But I really appreciate you calling me. That's the kind of no you'll get with this. You won't get to you'll get 1 out of 100 that's a jerk, right? But but this is the combination of the pattern interrupt and mini upfront contract. Hey, Tiffany, it's Patrick with Sandler. I'm looking for some help. I'm not even sure if it makes sense for us to talk. I'm reaching out for two specific reasons. Let me share them with you, and then you can decide if it makes sense if we share a few minutes together. Is that okay? So I've done both in a very concise way. From there, remember, we go to the 30-second commercial. They go, sure, I've got a minute. How can I help you? Well, I'm with Sandler. Right. I typically work with business owners like yourself. Pain statements, here they come. I just did an intro statement. Pain statement is, from time to time, they're frustrated because their sales reps aren't proactive in bringing enough new business. Others tell me they're concerned that their reps are putting a lot of proposals out on the street, but they can't close their fair share. And lastly, it's a matter of margins, right? They're a value add business, and the reps seem to be cutting prices, and it's starting to erode margins. But I don't know if you can relate to anything like that in your business. So I just go intro, pain statements, hook question. Right? I can even shorten it up and say, I talk with sales leaders that are concerned with their people not doing enough prospecting. They're frustrated with getting excuses from the reps because they can't close enough deals and pull them over the finish lines. And then they're really sick and tired of the deals that they do close. It's just on price. But my guess is y'all aren't dealing with anything like that in your sales team. We'll go the other. Well, no, I wish. Really? Could you tell me more about that? Now I'll go to the mini pain funnel, but this is some examples of how to build some of the components of a 30-second commercial. Okay. Hey, I talked to plant managers that are frustrated by downtime that's impacting production. I talked to a lot of business owners that are concerned of the lack of communication between departments and it impacting the overall culture of the business. That was pretty good, Christine. You can steal that. But see, what's cool about this, I don't know much about your business. You said a couple things. I know what some surface problems probably are. And I can plug that language right into this. And I've got a process, I've got a system to plug anything into. And I can get it now. I've been doing this for a while, so I can get it conversational pretty quickly. But that's the cool thing about having a process. Now, here's what you can do. Here's a little Mad Lib. Steal this. Now, this is being recorded, Tiffany. And if you want me, I can put the slide deck in like a PDF format so you can share it with the participants. But this is just fill in the blanks. When I'm talking to facility managers, when I'm talking to executives, when I'm talking to business owners, when I'm talking to homeowners, when I'm talking to VPs of sales, operations managers, anybody, you plug it in, and then what do they complain about most? That your product or service solves for them. If we lead with that, it's also a differentiator. We've interrupted the pattern in the first 15 seconds. We've just literally introduced ourselves in a different way. It wasn't a feature advantage benefit dump. And now we're fishing for pain. Right now, whatever they say in response to this, yes or no, right? We can play. We're safe. We can play either way. Oh, that's great. Those are a lot of issues other people face. Sounds like you've got those taken care of. When it comes to XYZ, what are you seeing? Now I can go another direction. Or if they go, you know what, Christina, we've been talking about culture a little bit, in our last executive meeting. Really? Tell me more about that. Right? What's been going on? What's been the impact of that? Oh, well, based off what you're telling me, let me make a suggestion. Why don't we pull out our calendars and find some more time to talk through this? Would that make sense? let's do this. Let's look at our calendar and let's set up some time to have a further conversation. Or you could even dig into it right now. Hey, Tiffany, here's a suggestion. I know I caught you cold here out of the blue. It sounds like this issue is worth exploring further. Would you want to schedule some more time to talk about this, or how are you on time right now? Why not? Why not if you can? Then we set the appointment. We set the appointment. And basically, that's the ask, that's the call to action. Whatever you want your next step to be in your sales process, that's what it should be. If it's a demo, if it's an on-site visit, if it's a 15-minute introductory call, I don't care what it is, that should be your next step. Like, here's what I'm thinking we should do next year. And then whatever your logical next step in your sales process is, that's what you go for. Right? Usually if I'm cold calling and I have a new lead that I'm talking to, I'm usually going to set an appointment, a next step appointment, whether it's virtual or in person. So know what your next step is. What's your outcome of a call? What do you want to happen at the end of it? And then you send the invite, send the invites out, right? And you're good to go. You could even give them homework or start to ask who else should be involved, or, hey, I'm going to send you a counter invite. It's just going to be for me on my side. Is it anybody else from your side that maybe should join us? Or, who else should join us? Would anybody else want to have a say in this conversation? So that's a really, really 30,000-foot view of a cold calling or no pressure prospecting call approach. We want to take the pressure out, take the pressure off for the prospect, take the pressure off for us. And if you can do that, you're going to have better conversations, set more appointments.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm going to end the Facebook Live. So everybody who's been watching on my Facebook, thanks for joining us today. We're going to cut over to the Q&A session, which is for Empower People members. So if you're not an Empower People member, please join empowerpeople.org/join. And we'll catch you on the flip side. I'm bringing back an oldie and goodie by saying that.